This is the Spurs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, sometimes you need a reminder that the NBA season is 82 games long, and sometimes you need a reminder that after 30 games, your team is far from a finished product, and the San Antonio Spurs got exactly that tonight. Welcome into the Spurs Postcast right here, Locked On Spurs, part of the #1 sports podcast network in the world because of the everydayers like yourself. A second consecutive loss tonight for San Antonio, silver and black, falling apart in the fourth quarter to the Cleveland Cavaliers, ultimately going down 113-101 for the second time in 72 hours. See, of course, NBA champion Devin Brown. My name's Casey Viera, my friend. A little bit of a deflating effort because you saw a lot of good tonight, but for the second consecutive game, some familiar tendencies are the reason why the Spurs are not coming out on top.
Yes, Casey, absolutely. We got some things that we need to clean up if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan like I am, like we are, and we're definitely going to break it down, so let's talk about it.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, so De'Aaron Fox missed last go-around with the adductor soreness. He was back. The Cavaliers are coming in on a 3-game road trip, lost against Houston, lost Christmas Day against the Knicks, really playing a desperate element of basketball. They've probably been one of the more underachieving teams on the season, 17-16 on the season. And the Spurs came out and they looked the part of a team that wanted to continue that misery. Victor played all the hits in that first quarter. He caught a lob dunk off the glass from Stephon Castle, hit the 1-foot three. San Antonio goes up by 1 after 1. They took a 6-point lead in the break, held Cleveland to 36% shooting from the field, 36. And ultimately, they have a 6-point lead going into the half. Cavaliers grind their way back into this thing. They get back within 2. It's 78-76. But if you remember, the first time these two teams met, it was in the third quarter where things fell apart for the Spurs. They went into the half leading. They led by as many, or they had a double-digit lead in the first half. But Cavaliers opened up the third quarter, making 14 straight shots. Tonight, in the fourth quarter, another consistent effort. It was not 14 shots in a row, but ultimately they hit 5 threes in the fourth. They outscore San Antonio 37-23. And as a result, the Spurs, for the second time on this homestand, not coming out on top, Devin. And I think what was probably the more frustrating kind of aspect of it was the fact that it's a lot of the things that we saw in the games against the losses to the Knicks, in the losses to Golden State, was just effort stuff down the stretch and tired legs catching up to him, and it did again tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the keys that everybody's keeping an eye on is the fact that these runs are happening with Victor not on the floor. And obviously we know what he brings to the game and the element of, you know, changing everything at the rim. But tonight was a little bit different, Casey, in my eyes, and the fact that Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley really beat up Victor tonight. You could see it. Victor has had 2 free throws to go at about 4 minutes to go in the game, and he physically looked beat tonight, right? Those guys did a great job, really bodying him up. And think about this. It made me think late in that fourth quarter when he went over and gave Kenny Atkinson a hug, and then they had mentioned that he was on that French team. Think about this, Casey. If there's anybody that's ever going to be familiar with, there's going to be a coach that coaches you.
Yeah.
So he came in with a good game plan, and that was to make Wemby work and to beat him up. You know what? Give him a check for that because he was able to pull that off tonight.
Yeah, Vic goes for 26 points on 7 of 16 shooting, 14 boards, and 27 minutes of work. Mentioned Fox coming back. He only had 14 on 4 of 13 shooting. Stephon Castle, 15 points, 8 assists, 5 turnovers, 5 of 13 from the field. The Spurs collectively, they only shoot 39%. They hit 7 of their 31 threes. They turned the ball over 18 times. That's 7 of 31 from deep. This, of course, comes after a game that they shot 10 of 44 from deep against the Utah Jazz in that loss over the weekend. Jarrett Allen, like you said, he had 27 and 10. And in all of this, lost kind of in all this, Donovan Mitchell only had 10 points. defensively, the Spurs were not bad tonight. They held Cleveland only 43% shooting, but it was the fourth quarter that really made a difference and what really got the Cavaliers going, and they caught fire, including one Cavalier in particular that really turned the course of the game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so Vic hits his first bucket of the fourth quarter, puts the Spurs up 4, and the Cavaliers promptly respond on an 11-2 spurt to turn that deficit into an 87-82 advantage, and ultimately it was kind of a microcosm as to how the rest of the fourth quarter. The culprit behind it was Jalen Tyson, finished with 11 points, 9 of them on 3 consecutive shots. Boom, 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 to turn the tide. 3 consecutive threes, and ultimately why this end result turned out the way that it did, and the Cavaliers, took off in that fourth quarter of play. But what is the common theme here? What I mentioned off the top and what you and I were talking about, what felt like a familiar theme was that there's aspects of this that I don't want to go as far to call it a recipe yet, but a way that the Spurs are going to be beat unless they tidy things up. And that's the idea of teams being really physical with them and forcing Victor to really be miserable out there by beating them up, because, Peacock out there on the broadcast put a whole melt together of Victor getting bumped and laying all over the floor. And honestly, for a lot of it, it was pretty much fair play. But the idea of that, getting to the 50-50 balls, and the hustle plays, and when the threes start coming in motion and your threes on the other side of the floor are not falling, this is the type of thing that gets the Spurs. You saw it tonight. You saw it in Utah. You saw it against the Knicks. Saw it against the Warriors. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's only been 9 losses, so it hasn't been too many. But still, this is becoming a thing right now.
Yeah, so a couple of things real quick. We'll hit on Mr. Tyson's little 3-minute span there. I've been that guy before. Kid plays 22 minutes, but makes a big impact on the game in the fourth quarter. That's one of the things you look forward to always when you start that fourth quarter, when you're coming off the bench. As a player, you want to make an impact, and hopefully coach will leave you out there for the rest of the game. That was my first point. Now, the second one is, yes, you can see when these losses with the Spurs, what's happening is it's a make or miss league. All right, everybody knows that. And Cleveland made a couple of shots, okay, Tyson being one of them. The backbreaker, obviously, it put Donovan Mitchell to 10 points, because that time he had 7, was the 3 he hit off the offensive rebound at the top of the key. That's a cold dagger right there. Hadn't heard much from him, but he hits a big shot there. Now on the Spurs side, what became a problem tonight is they weren't hitting shots, Casey. They were not hitting shots. Victor hit one of the only threes that they hit there in that fourth quarter. But I'll tell you what, it's going to fall on the players that are out there, the defensive principles that have gotten you 5 championships, a lot of deep playoff runs. You're not seeing that, the extra effort. There are a lot of times Cleveland's getting into the lane. You got not only 2, but 3 guys going after the ball. Dump-offs are happening, and Jarrett Allen was able to finish those along with Evan Mobley. So there's some defensive principles that are being preached to them about making sure that we're in the right position, but they overdid it tonight, allowing for a lot of dunks and layups.
And it's tough when those long threes, when they're too strong, the back iron, and you get a team that's got an offense that is anchored by two guards that have a motor about as good as anybody, as they do with Mitchell and Garland. You're going to get beat on that front too. And another aspect of it with the physicality, I think that something that we saw and have seen kind of been a flaw of Victor's was that on these games that they are being physical with him. Shot selection on the other side of the floor, there's an element of fatigue to it, and you can see, and it's noticeable, because it's not an assertiveness to go and attack the basket. It's a lot of settling. It's a lot of, taking what the defense gives you and not going and right at you. You can see the fatigue out there, the tired legs in these situations like that. And I think that was part of it too. Victor did not shoot particularly great tonight. He missed 2 of his 6 threes. It goes beyond him, but there's such a trickle down effect with that on
Yes.
both sides of the floor when he's getting knocked around like that, because on the defensive side, you're seeing your guy out there, your elite perimeter all-world defender, being a half step slower, and it just kind of sets the trickle down for everybody else. And then on the other side of the floor, when the planet evolving around the sun, that is Wemby, when the sun is his shot selection is not looking ideal, it limits everything else. And you see a lot of settling and subsequently a lot of misses when they're not going down, and runouts and easy threes on the other side of the floor. And that's kind of what got them again tonight. And it's, it's one of those things where they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to figure it out, because it's not going to get any easier at this point.
No. Well, you said a couple of, really key things that I hope our viewers do a great job of picking up on what we talk about. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen were going step to step on 2 or 3 counter moves that Vic was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were staying right there with them, making them work. And we talked about it already. They were beating the heck out of them. We don't cuss here. Beating the heck out of them all night long. Now, you bring up a great point, because when you said the trickle down effect, your boy, our boy, I'm sorry, our boy, De'Aaron was 4. You said 4 for 13.
Yeah.
Well, if he's guarding, Allen or Mitchell, and I know Mitchell didn't do a whole lot of scoring. Garland had another one of his solid games, but it's the pick and roll, coming off once, coming off twice. My point is this: they're making De'Aaron play defense on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of nights, De'Aaron is wearing out that other guy. Tonight, I felt like they were wearing him out.
Well, and you lose that luxury. Victor is getting beat up and playing a half step slower. You lose the luxury in crunch time when those tired legs are happening, and the luxury of being able to funnel them to Victor, it's not there anymore.
Right.
It's not there, because if he's off, that's a huge aspect of it. Well, Fox, like you're saying, is not looking great defensively. There you go.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Casey, in the media, I've learned about the bait deals, and you said the defense with Fox. I'm not going there.
That's not a bait deal. It's true. I just watched him give up 37 points in the fourth quarter.
Yes. I know. But I'm trying to, I'm staying right here. And so, what you're talking about is this. So, I would say, like, whenever Victor checked back in after Cleveland was that huge run, you're absolutely right, because Cleveland kept attacking inside. And, Victor, the one great thing that I saw out of him that I loved was a little 2-on-1 in the lane. He got to both of them, and then he dove on the floor. The one thing I didn't like is what took so long for his teammates to pick him up. If your franchise player is diving on the floor like that, giving that kind of effort, and I don't get effort like that from somebody else, I'll tell you what Pop will do. Pop ship you somewhere you never heard of. But my point is this: Victor is doing a lot. He's done a lot in this stretch. I know they've lost 2 in a row, but these guys, they got to understand, and we talked about this last time, where they are in the standings, and these losses are starting to add up.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to turn this thing around, Casey.
And, of course, the New York Knicks on New Year's Eve on deck. Coming up on the other side of the break, not going to get any easier. And we'll talk about that Knicks game a little bit more, and how Mitch Johnson can kind of work around this, some of the things we didn't like tonight, and how they could potentially fix it with the Knickerbockers on deck in a rematch of that Cup championship just a couple weeks ago, right here on the Spurs Postcast on Locked On Spurs. That and more in just a minute. But before we get to all that, let's step aside for word with about some of our friends that drive this program. One of them, of course, in Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you do. Nobody. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with the tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, and channeling that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, crypto, all on one platform, and you can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, every move. Hey, on the topic of money, as we know, NFL football Sundays, they are plenty money in the literal, and if you play FanDuel, probably the figurative sense of the word. That's what makes live betting so fun with FanDuel. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting in real time. You can place bets with FanDuel as the action unfolds, every drive, momentum swing, every highlight moment. With live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, player props, you can bet next touchdown scorers, drive totals, and a whole bunch more to keep you locked into every single moment of the game. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season with FanDuel.com, place your NFL bets all season long. You know where to go with FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. $113-101 is what the final numbers read tonight in favor of the visiting Cleveland Cavaliers, who beat the Spurs actually for the 7th consecutive time, as San Antonio puts up a season low in points with that 101 mark. We're coming to a little bit of a spot, I guess, where you're talking about the Victor minutes restriction aspect of it and trying to make it work. We're not really getting like a real concrete number of where it's at. You can operate under the assumption that it's collectively growing more and more and more, that he's back in the starting lineup again. He was today, and tonight he played 27, so you would think it would, should the opportunity arise, you push closer to that 30-minute mark. But some curious stuff on the Mitch Johnson side of things tonight. I'm not sure. It's easy for me to say on the Victor Wembanyama part when to put him in, when to not. But it feels like there's moments, and you saw it in the Utah game the other day, where Mitch kind of goes with that old school Phil Jackson. If the other team's on a run, well, it's on you guys to figure it out. I'll take a timeout, but it's on you guys. And it feels like this team is not necessarily there yet in the experience part to do that. And it bit him with Utah, and it felt like it kind of bit them a little bit again tonight.
Yeah, interesting point you bring up there. So I don't know how to handle this one. So it's interesting because yes, there are some things that he's doing that is concerning, but Casey, the best thing to do is to learn on the fly. And he's had some early success with how this team has been playing, and I can tell you, right now, there's days he feels really good about himself and what's going on, and then there's times like this. Now you've lost 2 in a row. You got to shake it up a little bit, not much. You got to make sure that Victor's going to be healthy. You got to make sure that Fox gets back to playing the way Fox was playing. And then your wing players, Keldon and Devin, Juju, and some of those other guys. You got to make sure that they're taking quality shots, especially Devin, because his green light's greener than mine, and I had a green light, Casey. So you got to just make sure that, especially in games like this, you got to make sure that they're valuing the basketball, which didn't happen tonight, and that their shots are quality shots. And don't leave, especially down the stretch, what I saw, don't leave everything up to Victor. All right. Others, they have to continue to make plays. So, it's going to be an interesting, meeting come either tonight or tomorrow whenever he meets with the other coaches, and, see where they go from here.
Going to be an even bigger task on deck with the Knicks on deck, and another reminder that every team is going to be gunning for you the rest of the way. And on the other side of things, though, an opportunity, if you're really going to get things right and cross those hurdles and show you're going to bounce back from these things, consecutive losses, including ones that you got really beat up in, go out and show up to work against, in my opinion, the best team in the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, the finals favorite the finals favorites come out of the East.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
have a reason to be motivated to play against them, without a doubt. Show up again on New Year's Eve. Yeah.
So let's NBA Cup. You're absolutely right. Now let's throw all that out. It's time to get back in the W column.
Mm-hmm.
So it just so happens that it's going to be the Knicks. Yes, there's a lot on the table. Throw your record. Forget about that. Let's go win a basketball game and get back on track, Casey.
Yeah, it'd be very much needed after a loss like tonight. San Antonio going to drop now to 23-9 on the season as they go down to the Cavaliers 113-101 at the Frost Bank Center. Spearheaded by many of guys, I guess you could say on the Cleveland side of things, but one of them in particular, our player of the game tonight.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
The former Texas Longhorn, Jarrett Allen, 24-10, back in his home state. Knocked Victor on his back a little bit. Got the win. It's a big night.
Hey, congratulations to him. Hopefully he stayed under having to get 50 tickets because it can get expensive. Spurs tickets are very expensive right now. But yeah, he had a big game. He was all over the place. Went toe-to-toe with Wemby, did a great job of it. We give him the award tonight. Congratulations to him. And yeah, I completely forgot he went to Texas because I'm not familiar with that school. Familiar with that one right there, though. But anyway, congratulations, young man.
I was going to say, he's not the greatest player in program history, but I know someone who is the greatest player in his program's history.
That's right.
There you go. Hey, we're going to be back tomorrow night for our Spurs squad show. Of course, our host of the title pod, Jeff Garcia, will be back hanging out with us at 9 o'clock, back to our normal time. Only one this week, again, because of the holidays. And I say this out loud, and I'm just thinking that the mood of this show changed just like that. In 72 hours, man. A week ago after the OKC loss, I'm like, we're going to have a squad show. They're going to be winning 10 in a row going into that Knicks game. And now we're acting like, okay, are we sure they're going to win again?
Yeah.
That's a joke. They will.
Yeah.
And yes, we look forward to having all of you hang out with us for that as well. Again, Tuesday, 9 o'clock, Spurs squad show. Talking about all the happenings with your silver and black. And as always, as we do when we put a bow on these things, show love to you guys, the everydayers. You're the one who drive this program. You're the ones who come out and have a lot of fun with us on all of our platforms. So we appreciate you doing the jobs that you do. Not San Antonio's night tonight. They go down 113-101, but back on deck for the Knicks on New Year's Eve. Going to be the hottest ticket in town. Looking forward to it. So for my dear friend, Mr. NBA champion, Devin Brown, I'm Casey Viera. Not San Antonio's night, but we'll try to bounce back against the Knicks on New Year's Eve.